Okay, and if you are in Florida at this point, just notice, yeah, the open fields. Remember what the description was like, right? Where when they were excavating the bodies and how initially, um, um, what was her name? I'm drawing a blank. The one that was discovered the bodies. She said that the earth didn't look right, right? Because it was like not naturally settled or something like that. Okay, and then Boot Hill, right? Just check it out, you guys. And then when you get to New York City, I want you guys to just notice, right? Is it like an upper class place, a working class place? Kai, you been yet to New York City? Did you? Not this area. Yeah, like you could probably find like New York, like Times Square. Huh? It's in multiple places. Okay, so I'm hoping that this is really helpful for you guys to check out. We did this when we read The Glass Castle last year. We walked around, what was it, 92 Hobart Street, where Jeanette and her family live. Yeah. A lot of forgiving. Wow. Okay, you guys got a chance to kind of look around. You can, jump back on later, but I just wanted to get that into your head so that you guys get more connected to the story. I'm going to transition so that we can maybe talk about what's happening now. Okay. And so, oh no, I have the circle of death going on. I'm going to move us forward here. So if you hit the next button on the Google activity, that's what we're going to do. So today's kind of an interesting day because I'm going to take each book. I don't know if we can call it a book club. So the Mockingbird Book Club, I'm going to work with you guys separately and then Nickel Boys separately. And so one group will be working on the class discussion and what that looks like. And then the other group will be practicing your fourth video twice and then recording on the third time. Okay, so that should be about 20 minutes. Okay, so just to frame that into your head today, we have to practice what being prepared for a group discussion looks like. So go ahead and open your notes and I'm going to show you guys basically what's going on with that. Okay, so if you have a notebook, great. If you have a digital form of notes, great. Okay, but as we go through this, I just want to show you guys what I'm expecting from you guys because I think that's a really fair way to do this. So we are in module, actually we're going to go up to module 4.5 and then the novel reading, prepare for class discussion. So let's get started with this. I'm just going to share my screen so that you guys are all on the same page as me and then we'll break up into our stations for today. So I'm going to start the class, right, with the question that you had to focus on this past week or this past reading, and that is identify the multiple worlds or perspectives in the story. What makes them unique, and what are the rules of engagement? And we kind of talked about this in the last class, but it's basically the unspoken rules, right? And so let's connect it to what just happened yesterday with the Derek Chauvin trial. Did everybody get a chance to check that out? Because it's all over your social media. It's one of those trials that's going to define your high school career, because it's like what happened with the Rodney King verdict when I was around your age. I still remember watching him getting beat up, and then the police were found not guilty for assaulting him. I mean, he almost died. If you guys don't know the Rodney King story, it's pretty tragic. Okay, but that would happen when I was around your age. And so this, the George Floyd death, and then Derek Chauvin being found guilty on all 3 charges is a pretty, I don't know what you want to call it. It's a shocking moment in your young adult life. Okay, but what I want to do is for you guys is to kind of frame the rules of engagement so that you guys understand what we're talking about even further. So if you look, this is a picture I got from this article. And if you click on the article at the top, it's this article that talks about the 2 views of Floyd onlookers. So they're basically the bystanders, yeah? Like one of the bystanders was just I think he was like a 61-year-old man just walking around, and then so happened to stumble on this incident, right? And out of just dumb luck, now he's traumatized forever, right? Because if you guys had a chance to watch like the trial and the hearings and things like that, all of these bystanders talked about how they regretted not doing anything, right? And with that, that's a pretty heavy burden to hold for the rest of their lives, right? So the unspoken rules, we're gonna just try and dive deep into this. As far as, let's get into the chat, okay? And let's just kind of see where this takes us. So for the rules of engagement, we know what the scene is like because we've probably seen the video one too many times from our choosing, right? I mean, it's just all over the place. And for me, I know personally, I can't stop thinking about it, right? Number one, my dad is a policeman or was a policeman for 25 years, right? Second, I mean, that's one of those things, like, it's very confusing because policemen are supposed to protect society, and this happens. So it's a lot of space of complexity that's taking control of like what we're thinking about at this point, right? So let's look at these bystanders and let's look at their rules of engagement. So in the chat, go ahead. What are some of their rules of engagement they're playing by? So rules of engagement would be something like this on a lighter note. We know who will let us call by our nickname, right? Those are rules of engagement. If you've ever had somebody call you your nickname before before you allowed them to, it feels funny, doesn't it? Yeah. So in the last class when you guys were at home and cohort B was here, I talked about like nicknames. And my nickname is Lonnie because my first name is Alana and my twin couldn't say my name. In fact, my twin used to call me Nani, okay? And I couldn't say her name, and her name was Elena, but I couldn't say her name, so her name was Nena. And sometimes when we have these really like emotional, or like when our grandma passed or whatever, there are certain moments where we'll call each other those kid names. And it's like, we know that it's a pretty serious moment if she calls me Nani and I call her Nena, because like when our grandma passed away again, like it was pretty heavy. The older I got, the more divorces my parents went through. I had more sisters and things like that. And so along the way, my nickname changed from Lani to Lani Moo. And then the Metagold cow came out, and then I became Lani Moo Moo. And then I had more sisters, right? Because you guys know I have a tribe of sisters. And so finally my name shrunk back down to Moo. So now I'm Moo. If you translate that in Hawaiian, I'm a holy cow. So, because they used to call me Lani Moo Moo. But if somebody calls me that, like that's not in my circle, it's weird, right? So that would be like a rule of engagement, right? So the engagement, really the word engagement means like relationship, right? How do you engage with people, right? And so if you're looking at this picture, right, that I have shared with you, what we have is the play of rules of engagement happening before our eyes, right? And when this was happening, it was basically unfolding in real time on social media. Do you remember? We're all at home, pandemic, right? We have to stay home, and we're like, what is this? And we clicked on it, and it was like, oh, what is happening? What is he doing on his neck? Why are these people yelling at the cop? And what are the other cops behind him doing, right? It was very confusing. So if we just focus, I'm gonna just focus on the bystanders, because those rules of engagement, there's nobody telling them what to do, but they're all on the same page. So what are some of the rules of engagement in this moment, in this picture? Yeah, so you're gonna just type it in the chat. Let's see if we can figure out what are the rules of engagement for this sad moment in your young history. Oh. So Trinity, if you haven't seen this video, so these people are on the sidewalk, and to the right of them is the police car, and they're George Floyd is on the ground by the police car, in the rear passenger side, by the tire, by the exhaust. And then there's Derek Chauvin, who's wrestled him to the ground and it has his knee on his neck. And so the bystanders are there, just kind of at first, just like, hey, get off of him, right? There's F words being dropped. Obviously, it's an intense situation. People are asking to feel his pulse. Does he have a pulse? And basically just like trying to help, right? So that's why this article that I've given you is very interesting, because there's two perspectives that come out, right? One side paints a picture of the crowd being hostile and aggressive, and the other side is painting this picture of trying to save this man's life. So quite interesting. You guys can determine for yourselves what that crowd can be defined as. I'm not here to do that, but you know, the rules of engagement. There are, look, if you count in, how many people are there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. On Sunday, it's gonna be a year. Wow. 13 people, right? And I'm sure more were around. Oh, that's right. Okay, so what are some of the rules? Let's look. Not to get involved, record, right? I mean, that already sets the standard for, sadly to say, future interactions like this, right? Right. Right, right. This is not to interfere physically. You guys know, right? Once like the police are engaging in like arresting someone or whatever it is, you can't interfere because you'll get thrown in jail as well. You guys understand that, right? So the level of rules that are involved in this situation are powerful, right? Let's look. Yep, there is this unspoken rule to record no matter what, right? Imagine if they didn't record this, right? And there was only the body cams. Very interesting what might have happened, right? We don't know. Let's see, recording the police officers. You usually don't or aren't supposed to disagree with the cops, right? Because why? We're trained to believe them, right? We're trained to respect them. And what's happening, right? Some bad apples here. All they can do is stand there and watch, right? They know, don't move, don't make any aggressive movements, right? They know that police are technically in charge, correct? What did Blaze say? Scared to step in. Totally. What would have happened if they stepped in? Right? Right. They can quickly find themselves in a similar situation, right? So they know, like, right? Let's see. The crowd cannot come and push. Yep. So this would be one of those rules of engagement, right? And for us, watching this thing unfold on social media, continuing to see and hear about this situation, we can't help but to think, what would we have done if we were there, right? Look at the picture of the bystanders. I mean, imagine if we were, would we just keep walking? You know, would you have, what would we have done, right? We can only imagine, because none of these people, right, did anything to either cause harm to themselves, right? They couldn't do anything. They were frozen, right? They understood what was happening, right? And even for us, like, it's easy to put ourselves there and be like, okay, what would I have done, right? I mean, I tell myself all the time, like, what would I have done, right? Would you have like brought out your college soccer days and just try to like do something to get him off of his neck? I don't know. Yes, Zeke.
Well, I think that I tell myself that I'll do something close to police officer.
Yeah.
And honestly, when I think about it, if I was there, I probably wouldn't have done anything. All it takes is really one person to try and step in. But as you see, everybody was kind of full of spit,
Right.
So if that one person doesn't, show up, then nothing will happen.
Right. Right. The answers to what would I do if I were there is very complex, right? These people that are in this picture, right? They had to answer questions on the stand, right? And I don't know if you guys saw those videos on the news, but it was hard to watch because they were clearly traumatized, right? They are going to live with this regret of not doing anything to help this man who was murdered in front of their eyes. And as much as we want to say we would have done something, right? Like, I was thinking, like, what could someone have done? Would you have brought over a bouquet of flowers, because that's not threatening, and just shoved it in his face? Like, what would you have done? Yeah. Would you even be able to get that close, right? Would you have brought out your ice cream cone and say, "Excuse me, sir, would you like?"
You go home and you get the gas that you like pour the food and you soak the rag and then you throw it like the
Oh my goodness, Kai. Okay. So anyway, what I'm gonna have you guys do. Oh, Kai, we're talking about peaceful civil disobedience, not havoc. Okay. So, what we're gonna do now, okay, is I'm gonna show you guys what my notes look like, okay? And then in the chat, what I'm gonna do is I'm going to give you your notes. So if you didn't take notes, guess what? I'm giving you notes. So you can go ahead and open that up. I wanna just show you guys what my notes look like. So I gave you this as a worksheet. You guys could have used this as a worksheet, or you could have altered the worksheet on your own. So what I did was I took my own notes just to show you guys for today. And then so moving on to next week, you guys have an idea of what is kind of expected, okay? I skipped around a lot for To Kill a Mockingbird because I have my To Kill a Mockingbird notes in my notebook, okay? And then my Nickel Boys notes digitally. I just did it both ways, I don't know, okay? So for you guys, what I wanna show you guys is what the notes should kind of look like regarding the questions, right? So the rules of engagement, what makes it unique. Okay, so I just wanted to show this to you guys. And then today what we're going to be doing is we're going to be breaking up into groups. So we have our To Kill a Mockingbird book club, and then we have our Nickel Boys book club. Today, just for this week, we're just gonna start off separately. We're going to start off with one book and then the other book. And then next week, we're going to start doing like an overlap or a crossover between books so that you can share out what you're learning in your book with the other group, okay, and vice versa. And then you can ask each other questions that way. So I just wanted to get you guys going. If you guys look on the left-hand side of the chart, if you scroll down, okay, so this is for notes for April 21st. So basically took notes on highlighting important takeaways from the section, and then you're going to also write down something that you're going to share out. So let's do this first. Okay, so group 1 is going to be cohort A. Okay. And then group 2, go ahead and add your name, will be cohort B. Okay. Okay, yeah, so you have to scroll down. This is a class document, so be careful if you accidentally hit the delete button on somebody, just undo it real fast, okay? Yeah. After what? It's after. Yeah. Okay, where's my Nickel Boys for cohort A? Put your name below. Okay, very good. And then after you're done putting in your name, go ahead and just write your first name under the notes and then whatever detail you want to share out to the group. So pick something, that's going to be talking about the rules of engagement, identifying what worlds exist in your book. Okay. So do this all together so everybody gets points for today. Okay, but next week when we go through, I'm just going to add in this same graph below. Okay, this same chart below. So we have a system. I'm actually really, yeah, just something that you want to talk about. Okay, so that it's there for people to see. Yeah, can be a quote and then direct quotes. Yeah, so if you look at the notes, I kind of helped you guys out with a little bit of this. I wasn't sure if you guys had the same.
If you refresh and then refresh and then refresh and then wait for a really long time, it's kind of difficult to work.
It's like not saving, and there's like nobody on top.
Yeah, I have to have it in my-
Really?
I have to refresh, like,
No, if you reload, it'll come back.
Okay.
It takes so long, like,
Oh.
really long.
Can you maybe click out of it and then go back into the chat and click on it? Oh, yeah, for comparing, yeah. This is to that, is that is to this. What? So that's the next thing, right? George Floyd's brother is calling for, now that the actual person who killed his brother was found guilty, now what happens to the policemen that were behind him, yeah? To be continued, right? Because he still has to be sentenced, so that's going to happen in several weeks. I think they have to figure out how long he's going to go to jail for each guilty verdict. You can Google it. I listened to this. Second degree murder was the most severe, I think, and then manslaughter. I can send you a podcast that explains it, but I'm totally not, that's not my jurisdiction at all. Yeah. Okay, so there's that. What we're gonna do now is we're gonna break up into To Kill a Mockingbird people. You're going to log out of Zoom for now, okay? You need to time yourself for about 20 minutes, okay? I'm not gonna start my timer yet because we're setting up. You guys are going to practice your poems and then record it and upload it to the assignment in Canvas. Okay, so Mockingbird people, you guys can, people that are in the room today, go outside, find a quiet place, practice 2 times and then record. That should take you up to 20 minutes and then come back, okay? Mockingbird people online, you can go ahead and log out, practice, and then record, and then come back in 20 minutes. And then I'm gonna have the Nickel Boys people, you guys are still in Zoom on the dock. Okay, and then we'll get through this. Okay, so whoever has To Kill a Mockingbird, you guys can go outside and do that. Okay, you can log off because when you record, you're gonna like pick our voices up in the background, so it doesn't work. You gotta get off. You gotta get out of Zoom. I learned a lot of things today about Zoom and how it works in a hybrid. I think it's pretty nuts, but that's okay. Okay, so no, Kai, you're going after this. Oh, how weird. Today is 4/21/2021. Okay, so people who are reading To Kill a Mockingbird, go outside and record yourselves. You have your phones. Don't forget to time 20 minutes and then come back. Okay, and then where are my people for Nickel Boys? We'll start the Nickel Boys people first. Alrighty, perfect. I'm gonna start my timer so that I don't go over. Huh? Yeah, and then you can jump back on after. I'll let you guys back in. Only 2 of you guys. Oh no, you, yeah. You're To Kill a Mockingbird, correct? Yeah, who else? Huh? Yes. Okay, all right. All right, hi you guys. No, after, because you can record at home. So
Oh, yeah.
yeah. What? I don't know what I heard.
Can you make your volume like really, really loud
Oh,
so that if Katie talks, we can hear them? And then we don't need to turn it off.
Oh, yeah.
Because if we turn our audio and we're talking, and Katie talks, then we're not going to hear.
oh, because it's only Kaylee. Whoa, that's crazy. Yeah. Okay, that makes sense. Where's Kaylee? Did you say ew? Where's Kaylee? Oh, there you are. Hi. So if I had to do this again, this is what I would have done. Cohort B, Nickel Boys. Cohort A, but I didn't know how that was gonna work out, and I wanted you guys to really choose your own stories. So there is that. So we'll just see how this works. It's fine. All righty. So I'm just gonna walk you guys through this. I'm gonna do a little bit of maybe teasing because I've seen this happen. So what I did was I actually wrote down some notes, some tips and tricks for you guys to engage in discussion naturally, okay? Because we've all been in a classroom setting where you're doing your class discussion because your teacher is making you do it and you have a grade, right? And so it's super awkward. You guys like do the whole yeah, like Blaze said, da da da, right? And it's super awkward and it's not natural at all. So today, okay, Kaylee, I want you guys to pretend like you guys are in college, hanging out at a coffee shop, and you all have your books, right? And you guys are like just sharing out information. So if you guys look, the first thing that starts off with the book discussion is that you're going to share out information. And from there, that should trigger a waterfall of other comments. So, like after somebody shares something out, then you should wonder about it, right? Like, oh, I wonder what would have happened if blah, blah, blah. So somebody's going to ask a question and somebody else responds, right? And then somebody else should somehow connect in a related way. I mean, it just think about how you guys talk stories with each other, right? If it's not natural, then we just gotta practice it because it's super awkward. Like even for me as a teacher, like I can't. It gets like cringy, yeah. Those like classroom discussions, and then let's see. It's okay if you guys do the whole. I agree with what Kai said, or I disagree, but when you disagree with the point, make sure it's not the person, okay? Because then we can all have our hearts intact while we leave, okay? Yeah, so don't hurt each other's feelings, just argue the point, okay? And the details. Next, and this is where I want you guys to get to, is that very last bullet, and that is how does, how does your interaction with people help you to shift your thinking to maybe some deeper insight, right? Oh, I didn't think about it that way, Alicia. So now I'm thinking this, right? I mean, that's where the growth comes into play. That's why having these conversations should be worth something in education, right? I mean, I just had this really cool conversation with Miss Connell outside while I was stuffing my face with lunch. Um, and there's a lot to learn from each other. Okay, so I want that to be a value of this class. All right, so let's get started. You guys ready? We're just gonna try this. I'm just gonna be quiet and you guys are gonna talk. Okay, so bust out your notes. Are you ready? Yeah, do you have it? Talking over here. Oh, okay. So just go back and because I gave you some notes too, so maybe you can just elaborate on those notes that I had shared with you on this stuff. Just for today, yeah. And then next week, or when you start preparing for next week's discussion. Okay, so that's why today's today. Yeah, all good. Yeah, so I want you to unmute when you speak because Kaylee's at home. Yeah. You have to pee? No, you can stay unmuted on your, because if not, then we won't be 3 feet apart. And that's great. Okay. All right, so I'm going to mute myself and then somebody starts. Yeah, I'm gonna
So, oh, I can start. Yeah. Okay. So, let's see. Let's talk about like the rules of engagement and how they're different from Elwood and what's his name? Mr. Macaroni. Yeah, they're different perspectives on like stealing. And like, what do you guys think? Like, what do you guys, what would you do? Whose like side are you on?
It's bad how the shop owner is like the only reason he's like not racist is for his own benefit because he's like, oh, if we stop segregation, everybody can buy stuff from my store and everyone can pay me. But it's not like, oh, racism is bad. We should not have segregation because it's bad. I love how Trinity went right in.
It's kind of, oh,
No time, but I agree. It's like, can you guys hear those dogs? I'm so sorry about that, but I'll talk louder than the dogs. I agree, and it's always like there's a thing where people can do the right thing but for the wrong reason, and I feel like that was very exemplified in this little area. I was just elaborating on Trinity's. Sorry.
yeah, I think we just went over that in like history or something, where like, what is it, Brown v. Board or Ferguson v. someone, they removed segregation not because it was the right thing to do, but because like the justices realized, or like they realized how costly it was to do these things, and they didn't realize like that it was like morally wrong.
I'd like to talk about, do you guys think that, because it states that, or it talks about how, um, he helps with like the black men and he helps with the black people in the store. Do you guys think that that Mr. Macaroni uses him for that, or when he helps to like he helps in the store with the black customers? Yeah, like, oh, like, is that racist? You guys think?
I think he did it black person, then he's going to tell his friends, and then I will get more customers and be rich. It's a very like capitalist mindset on how like I could do the right thing for the right reasons, but I could also just do the right thing because it benefits me.
Oh, sure. Uh, I'm half with the macaroni man. Because it never says he's like blatantly racist. And if he wants to make money, then he wants to make money. That's it. Like I was thinking about the fact that he lets kids steal because they'll come back and pay for other stuff too. So I mean, you're losing like $5 a month and you're making like hundreds. So
But like, okay, I don't steal, but if I were to steal, like, okay, if I went to Brandy Melville and I stole one of their things, I would just go back and steal every single time I went. Like, why would I pay for it if I know I can get away with stealing? Like, that doesn't make sense.
Wow. Katie, did you hear that? About Lakia saying that if he had to outweigh the loss of money, that he would actually be making money by losing a little bit of money.
well, because it's like he said in the book, if he calls out the kids for it, the parents won't come back and buy stuff because they're embarrassed. So
Or like, how did you guys know that Costco, the chicken is so cheap, but they place it at the back of their store so that people walk all the way and pass everything, and so they actually lose money by selling cheap chicken, but they gain it back by the other stuff.
yeah, because they put the chicken by the pastries.
Well, the cap-
All the meats are in the back because you have to walk through the coffee muffins and the pumpkin pie and stuff.
And then
That's what my dad does. He walks past the pastries and he's like, "Oh, pastries."
I want Costco's sound.
So I agree with what Lakia said earlier about how I don't really think the guy is like racist. I feel like, if he was actually racist, he wouldn't even care about bringing in black customers or anything. So I feel like it's a good start for someone in that time to it's like a reason to not be racist. I don't know.
I think that he's trying not to be racist, and so he's trying to welcome in like black customers, and um, I feel like in this point of time, it's kind of still weird to have equality with black men, and so yeah, I agree. I don't think he is racist, but I think he's trying not to be. Like he's trying to be accepted.
Well, there's no way he can be racist. Well, there is. He can be racist, but the guy's name is Macaroni. So, like, his family probably did not come from America with the name Macaroni.
I don't know one person named Macaroni that's racist.
I don't know Macaroni at all.
Okay, so I don't think he's racist. I think he is kind of what a lot of people want today when you think of equality, because a lot of times you hear arguments that are like, we need equality between men and women, and because women have like the glass ceiling, but then a lot of people just think of it as they want to oppress men. So I think in the way that Mr. Macaroni like does it, it's like he's just using everyone, and that's what people want. They don't, because I feel like he's not looking at them and thinking that is a black man and I need him to come into my store. It's more just like that is a customer and I want money.
What about the grandma? What do you guys think about the grandma? Yeah.
What's it called? Our Hawaiian teacher. It reminded me of him. Like how he not that like that, like okay.
bald one?
Like you know how she
Yeah.
how doesn't really so how Harriet doesn't let would like hang out with whoever he wants. Kumukalani, like when he said when he was raising his kids, he wouldn't let people talk to his kids in English. So it's kind of similar, except English versus like kids who like bring knives.
can you guys talk about the rejection of the men in the kitchen and how the grandma didn't want Elwood to end up like the men in the kitchen, but she thought it was a safe place, but then they ended up like
Hustling him.
hustling. Yes.
Nobody wants to be the dude in the kitchen. That's probably why she. I mean, washing dishes is fine, but like, if you're looking at your child, or like if you're the guardian of some kid, you're not gonna want them to be just washing dishes.
Especially because Elwood was so like bright and like he had a really good future set for him, and she just took it too far.
Did you guys get to the point where he's talking about his teacher, Mr. Hill? Did you get to that point? I realized that the page numbers are a little bit off in comparison to mine because your guys' words on the page are humongous.
The last time I read was something. I think.
Yeah,
Oh,
we had
okay.
we had chapter 1 and 2.
Okay, because you guys were supposed to read till chapter 4 and that didn't, but that's okay. Right. Yeah, you guys were supposed to get through part 2, but yeah.
Like 10 chapters.
Well, you're gonna have to read up to chapter 7 by next time. But it goes through fast. It goes by fast. So yeah. Okay. Kaylee, you wanna talk about something else?
I don't think I have any specific topic in mind. I didn't take actual notes. Read, but I didn't take action. Maybe I'll do that next time, you know? I'm not one to stop and take notes when I read. I usually just read and then I think about it after that. But I'll take notes next time.
What about the rules of engagement with like the survivors, like Big John, and then how Elwood is trying to figure out what the heck, what are we supposed to do with this?
I think like one of the biggest, I don't know if this correlates to what you said, but I remember what I wrote for what I was going to bring up to the discussion was that one of the rules of engagements was that no matter what the boys did, they were always in the wrong. So like it was no matter how good you were, like how better behaved you got, you were still going to get punished. No matter what you did, you were still going to be a nuisance to them. Like it was highlighted in like the first sentence, I think, where it was like even in death they would be a something, and then it was like even after they die they're still going to be considered terrible. Blah. They're gonna get, yeah, you know what I'm saying.
Still extremely confused about the rules of engagement thing.
Okay, so with this example, okay, so and this is important because once you start to see the rules of engagement, you're going to see the inequalities in society. Okay, so it stems from the idea of even if you're doing well, based on like the color of your skin, your nationality, you might have to be more than perfect and it's still not good enough, right? So people don't have the same measuring sticks, right? And so what are the rules of engagement in society, right? When you have to understand that no matter how, Kaylee wrote on the board, no matter what somebody does, it's still not up to par with the rest of society, right? It's more like an unspoken rule, right? It's being raised and you seeing how society interacts with certain groups of people, right? Does that make sense? It's like if you were to see, okay, I'll just give you this example. Let's say I'm walking down the street and I feel like I'm gonna rap, but I'm not. But I'm walking down the street and I see somebody coming towards me, right? And depending on what this person looks like, I'm going to cross the street because of the rules of engagement that I have learned through my personal experiences. Does that make sense?
Yeah, so like
For me, like if I'm walking down the street and I see a large scary man that looks like a pedophile, I reach in my bag and hold my pistol. It's like an unspoken rule that like
Yeah.
if you think you're in danger, cross the street or get something quick.
Right.
not necessarily a rule, it's like a.
Yeah. Unspoken rule. Yeah.
I guess that makes more sense. I was so confused.
Yeah.
Because
So
I was like, am I making rules?
no, it's like the crowd of bystanders while George Floyd is on the ground, right? Those people are all with the understanding that they don't move.
I think that's very much like bullying. Like you know when you're in elementary, you learn about bullying and all the teachers like, if you ever see it happen, then you need to step in. But like I've been in experiences where kids are like being really mean to me, and they'll have a bunch of their friends around and they won't say anything. But
Yep.
then like after I'll just be in the bathroom and one of them will come up and be like, sorry, I didn't know what to do and I'm
Right.
sorry I did it. And I'll just be like, okay, I don't care.
Right. That bullying example is so done with already. Like, I would hope that we have seen enough of that stuff to be like, you know what, that's not cool. I think you should step back, you know, but it's hard in that context, right?
You don't want to get bullied.
Right. I mean, I've seen it from even a teacher point of view, right? I can tell the students to be nice to each other no matter what. But bullies are smart. They know when not to say something and when to say something and little things. And so sometimes I pretend not to be listening, but I'm listening because I need to make sure that all of my students are treated properly, at least in front of me, right? At least I can control that. Okay, let's transition. I think that was a pretty good start. Okay, I think that was a pretty good start. So what you guys are gonna do now is transition to practicing 2 times, right? And then recording once, okay? Kaylee, you are so close, buddy, with your poem. Fire girl. Okay, so let's go ahead and transition and then I'm gonna talk with the Mockingbird Book Club. Okay, so the rest of you guys go outside, find the quiet space by yourself. Kai, you're going to go and grab your book. Yeah? Oh, if you can, if not tonight. But I want you to practice because I need you guys to see yourselves on, right? And I need your classmates to help you.
I still need to like add some changes. You know those suggestions?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I still have to like. So,
If you can, but if you can, I wouldn't. But
Now is not the time to create
just make a choice and then go with it because you have 2 weeks.
One of my friends is asking her like, I think this is so good at poems, and then I'm like, I'm bad at poems. He's asking me to write a poem, and I'm like,
That's taken work for you to get to this point, so. All right. Okay. All right, hi you guys. Okay, so did you guys get on? Okay, let's get on. What is Trinity doing? Trinity, you gotta get off. Look, Trinity, you're videoing your chest. Oh my God. Look at that. What the heck? How cute. That's a really cute necklace. What is that? Is that a charm? Oh, don't ask. Oh, Kai went to go get his book. Yeah. Oh, that's weird. That's so funny. Okay. Let's get started. Yeah, put yourselves on mute and then what? Hi Tia, how are you? Just waiting for everybody to get on.
good.
Good?
I'm
Yeah.
gonna upload my video right now.
What?
I'm gonna put it in the discussion.
Yeah. Eva. There you are, Sunshine. How are you? Okay. So I'm just gonna go over what this discussion should look like. Okay, so I'm gonna share my screen with you guys, and then we'll just try it for today. And that's what today is just to try. So what I did was I gave you guys some tips and tricks on how to be kind of natural at this, because we've all been in classroom group discussions and it's super awkward and it's so scripted and it's puke worthy, right? It's cringy actually. And so for you guys, what I did was I tried to give you guys some tips. So let's just pretend we're in college and we're at a coffee shop, okay? And we're just hanging out, okay? Kamala's like, oh, I can be there, that's fine. Starbucks, awesome. I recently had my very first boba, which was really delicious. So maybe you could pretend that you're at a boba cafe. Eva, stop laughing at me. I had to go half sweet because that thing was too sweet. Yeah, half sweet was still too sweet. That's how you know I'm getting old. Yeah, anyway, and then I tried my nieces and I was like, that's poison. Like, cause she did all like full sweet. Anyway, here we go. So what I'm asking you guys to do, right, is answer this question or to share out ideas on identifying the multiple worlds and perspectives and what makes them unique. And then what really are the rules of engagement? So, and with the other group, they're still a little bit, yes, they're still a little confused on what the rules of engagement are. So I'm just gonna have, Jake, could you please just share out what you think that is?
Okay, in general, I think like rules of engagement is how they contradict each other, I guess, ideas and how we can get different people into the book, like some kind of thing like that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of a hard concept to grasp. So rules of engagement, let's see. Okay, so let's just say, I'm just gonna use an example, like a real life example with dealing with certain students, okay? So I'm just gonna use Apole as my example, okay? And because I know she speaks Hawaiian, my engagement with her is that I look to her for like maybe a deeper perspective in like either Olelo Hawaii or Hawaiian culture, or I know I can get into it with her with like Hawaiian cultural topics. And I feel comfortable doing that because I understand that I can engage with her in that way. And that's what our kind of like our relationship is based off of. Whereas like, let me see who's there. Whereas, let's see. Okay, so like Krisha, I know that she's like heavy into the healthcare field, right? And so my engagement with her is based off of a lot of like women's power, making sure everybody has equal access to healthcare, right? And so my engagement with each and every one of you guys is actually different, really different, because, and that's because I tried to get to know who you guys are, right? Like I can refer to like sports things with Jake because he plays sports, right? I mean, it's just that pretty straightforward. And even like looking at your poems and things like that, it changes my rules of engagement with you guys, right? Even the way I interact with you in comparison to the rules of engagement with your parents, right? You're not going to hear me talk the same way I speak to you guys if you were to hear me engage in conversation with your parents, obviously, right? And so I guess that's what we're talking about, right? What happens when one group doesn't have the same rights or access to things in society just because of their skin color, their level of socioeconomic status, right? If you're rich or poor, if you're brown or you're black or you're white. Okay, so I just want to make that clear. Does anybody have any other questions before we move on? No? Okay. All right, so I think we got that. Or even like if you know if somebody doesn't share the same views as you with Mauna Kea, you probably won't ever mention it again. You know, like I'm not going to mention that ever again to my twin. You know what I mean? Like I'm not. Yeah, you just don't talk about it because you know it's just going to be one big fight, and then you'll want to like punch each other's faces. Oh. Oh wow. Yeah. Right. Okay. So let's try this. Okay. So as we go through today and we have our conversation, we're all in the coffee shop. I don't know about you, but I just drink regular black coffee. You guys can drink your bobas. I don't care. Just make sure those squishy ball things don't choke you. I think that's dangerous, by the way. Anyway, so yeah. So what we're gonna do is we're just gonna start by just sharing out information, right? And then it should unravel some kind of wondering, right? So when somebody shares out something, you're gonna wonder about it. So you would just say, oh, that reminds me of this. So I'm wondering, blah, 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 right? And that's where the conversation should naturally unfold itself on its own. And then when we feel like we've like talked the topic to death, then maybe we just move on, right? There's only so much we can talk about with Calpurnia at this point. Okay. What else? And if any of you can get to the point where something shifts your ideas, right, into deeper insight, I mean, my goodness, go there. Yes, be like, oh, I'm glad you brought that up because this is what I was thinking, but now you're making me think this, right? It's a give and take from this I guess this level of engagement, okay, with classroom discussion. So we're just gonna try it. I'm gonna be quiet and I'm gonna just have somebody just naturally start. Go for it.
Um, wait, do I just talk? Okay. I want to start by talking about basically the controversy of Boo Radley, if he's like a bad person or a good innocent person. Yeah. That's what was on my mind most of the start of the book, because there was how Jem and Dill and Scout all really were curious about who he was and what happened to him. But yeah.
What are their worlds? Identify their worlds. So how do the kids perceive Boo?
He doesn't come out of the house. So they kind of just want him to get out so they can see him, I guess, in a way. Like that neighbor that you never see come out of their house, like where did he go? Maybe he just doesn't want to like talk to anybody. I don't know. Maybe something happens. Nobody knows.
Okay, well, when I was reading, I read that he was in a group of people who were like bad and they did something bad. I don't remember what it was, but they did a bad thing and the police the police felt bad for Boo and didn't want to put him in the jail with the black people. So Mr. Radley said that he will keep him in the basement. Yeah.
Like a feeling of guilt kind of thing. What they did.
Can we talk about the rules of engagement with like the adults versus the kids? Can somebody else talk about that?
Well, when I was reading it, I realized like the kids are so innocent compared to the adults. Like they have so much real world experience. Like the dad, he was a lawyer for this client that wouldn't admit to anything, so he just had to watch the client be killed, and like he couldn't do anything. And the kids don't have experiences like that, so they don't know that that's how the world is, and they're more carefree and just have fun.
What's it called? Scout and Jem get along with their dad, and Calpurnia like really well, and like a lot of the other parents or the other dads aren't so engaging with their children, so it's and then like because Jem and Scout are around older people, they start to act like older because that's kind of all they know. Like they only have them to play around with, and then like when they go to school they have that, but they're always with the dad, and the dad is very like, what is that, like formal, I guess. So they're learning from him because they're around him all the time, and Calpurnia helps keep them in check all the time.
It's like we all have Aunt Calpurnia in our families, like the one you don't mess with, right? So part of the engagement, rules of engagement with the kids and their father is that it's okay to call Atticus by his first name. Have you ever called your parents by their first name? Heck no, I wouldn't. Mary. Yeah. Right. You don't ever call your parents by their first name, but these little kids do, right? And it's because they have this kind of like this formal relationship, right? Yeah, I would never call my parents Mavis and Elson, believe it or not. One's Japanese, one's Filipino, and my mom is full Japanese and her name is Mavis. Mavis is like a Southern name. It's weird. And Elson, I don't know. I don't know where that came from. But I would never call them that. I still call them mom and dad. Ma and dad. One time I accidentally called my mom mommy last week and I thought, what the heck was that? And I walked away. I was so uncomfortable. I mean, I'm a grown adult. I don't know why I call my mom mommy. And I was like, oh gosh, I was like wanting to throw up and die. And then my dad, every once in a while, I hear my twin call my dad daddy. And I'm like, what the heck is going on? You're, I don't know. Just rules of engagement, right? Like, so anyway, let's talk about Miss Caroline. I'm sure you have a lot to say about her rules of engagement. She might have skipped the rules heading into Maycomb. Go ahead and talk about that.
I think what is it called? The rules of engagement. One of the rules of engagement she showed was like being forceful or when because well I remember that when Scott was trying to explain Cunningham, like the boy, how he's poor, and she was like so mad because I don't know, but she was mad at her, so she hit her. Yeah. And that's how she reacted to that. Yeah.
I feel like she just thinks that she needs to know everything. Like she needs to be in charge more than like trying to teach them. Like, cause who tells a kid to not read? Like you're trying to encourage them to read and stuff like that. But she's like, oh, don't do that anymore. It's like it kind of just feels like she's trying to drag her down, and it's kind of annoying because like she's a smart little girl, and you're just gonna try and make her dumb. So.
Yeah, there's this superiority complex with Miss Caroline. Figuratively speaking, I mean, she didn't read the warning signs coming into Macomb. Yeah, she's a young teacher. She's pretty ignorant about who knows what, the families, the history of the town. So you could even compare that to living on this island, right? We know certain families, right? We know certain families, oh yeah, just that's just how it goes. And so Scout is very much right aware of the Cunningham situation, right? They don't take anything they can't pay back. And even if they can pay it back, they don't have money. So they have to, their rules of engagement is different because of their socioeconomic status, right? They will pay you back by doing work or providing a something back, but not money ever because they don't have any, right? But is that the same value? Sometimes it's worth more, right? Sometimes it's worth more. Sometimes I talk about the family that lives next door to me, because even with them, like when I moved into Paneva, after we fixed up the family house, like we knew that the neighbors next door were really were in an unfortunate situation. They don't even have windows on their house, in their house. They don't have curtains. They have sheets to hang up. They have more kids than they do beds. The dad sleeps outside in their car. And when we moved in, they did the most Hawaiian thing ever, right? The grandma was like, "Hooey, neighbor," and then I met her by my fence, and she gave me this bag of lau lau. Yeah, wrapped in foil. They have no money. I mean, really, they really don't have much. And because we moved in next door, she was able to make lau lau and give us some. And I thought, oh my gosh, like I'm taking away this family's food. But really, that's just how it goes, right? That's just old school. And at first I felt bad and I was like, oh, maybe I shouldn't eat this lau lau. Where did they get it from? Who made it, right? And then one day I was like, you got to eat the lau lau because they gave it to me. So I opened it. And you know what? That was the best lau lau I've ever had. And it was just meat and leaves and probably just Hawaiian salt. And it was the best lau lau I've ever had in my whole entire life. And so that reminds me of the Cunninghams. Like they're not going to ever take anything from you. They can't pay back. And Miss Caroline missed the memo on that, right? Why? Because she thinks she's, Hi maka maka, and she thinks that she knows everything, and she doesn't. Just because you have a degree doesn't mean you're educated. You know that, right? You know that, right? I mean, that's the truth, and that's me with 3 degrees, right? I know that, right? But people think that just because you get the paper means you're somebody, but really, what is that, right? So I'm talking too much. Eva, what about you? What are some of the rules of engagement that you noticed?
I think that well, I'm gonna like stick to the Miss Caroline topic right now. I think that the students have to expand their worldview, or like they're forced to, because Miss Caroline is such an outsider to things. So like what we were saying earlier, the phrase like, oh, he's a Cunningham, or however you say it, they just kind of have to realize that because that the social structure of Maycomb is so like what's the word I'm looking for? It's so sorry.
Like established, well-known.
Yeah, so they just kind of assume everyone around the area knows. So I think they're really like, I think throughout the book, if their classroom is going to get talked about more, then the students are going to keep changing their worldview as well. Yeah.
Maybe. Yeah. Anybody else? Anybody want to talk about Dill? What's Dill's backstory? Anybody want to talk about the snowman? Anybody want to talk about Addis scolding the kids for mocking the people in their neighborhood?
Wait, can I talk about the topic? Well, okay, wait, I'm just gonna say it. So I think it was Kamila was saying like adults were mature and the kids are curious and stuff. So I remember like the kids, an example of the kids being so curious. Oh my god, I remember something else to say. Okay, well the kids are being curious and they were like rolling in the tires, right? Yeah, to the tires too. And then they accidentally rolled into the Bradley's yard, or wait, I don't know, into the yard. But all I remember is that they were like, "Oh, let's go in there." Or okay, well, they climbed the fence, and the Nathan, Mr. Bradley, like Boo's brother, shot them or tried to shoot, and then they were like trying to run so fast away, and then Miss Maudie. It's like, oh, they tried to. He said he was gonna shoot like someone Negro there. So that's like an example of how the kids are being, they're like, they really just wanted to see Boo. They didn't want to like hurt anyone or rob their house or anything. But yeah.
So that's like, so next week, the question is about worlds colliding, right? So the adult world and the kid world, as you can see, are already starting to collide, right? Atticus has to correct Jem and Dill for mocking their neighbors, right? Reminds them to have manners, right? Also, Jem tells the sisters that she can't talk to him at school, right? So rules of engagement there, right? Scout, you can't talk to me at school. You can talk to me at home, but not at school, right? Stay away from me, right? Is that an unspoken rule? No. Why? Because Scout didn't understand that, but Jem thought it was like one of those unspoken rules, but because Scout is a young kid, right? She doesn't know about that kind of stuff. It would be like, why? Why, Jem, right? So anyway, let's move on. So just to point out, Harper Lee, kind of like whoever got to read Lord of the Flies. Harper Lee reminds us clearly that these kids know that things are going on, but they don't know why, right? Because they're kids. And so Harper Lee does a really good job portraying these kids from their perspective, as innocent, as not knowing the bigger picture of the world. And that's going to help us to understand society better. Okay, so just as a heads up on that, the more you get into the book, the more you're going to understand that the Finches, right? Atticus Finch and his family have really deep and old roots in Maycomb, right? They were one of the first established families, Finch's Landing, slaves, right, during that time period. So do they have like a well-established reputation? Yes. Okay, so see how that plays out as the story unfolds. Okay, so for next week, I shared with you guys kind of like the what my notes look like, and so your notes should look something like that, where you're pulling direct quotes regarding the question that's being asked. Okay, and next week we're going to do a crossover where you're going to share out your story with like two kids that are reading Nickel Boys. Does that make sense? So it's like we're kind of reading two books at one time, but you're basically going to be just comparing notes. So when I'm just gonna, can you call the other kids to come back? And then I'm gonna just go over what you're gonna do for cohort B. Okay, and then we'll close out the class. Okay, so if you guys look, those of you guys who are already on Zoom, go ahead and look at your modules. Okay, and in your modules, let's go ahead and look at the novel reading, prepare for class discussion for this week. Okay, so I gotta change this because our pages aren't matching up clearly. So you gotta read up to chapter 7, okay? To the end of chapter 7.
Wait, what were we supposed to read up to this week or last week?
So because my pages don't match up with your pages, you were supposed to read to the end of part 1. Really? Okay, so that is actually chapter 3. So you had to read up to chapter 3, but I think you only read 1 and 2. Is that right? Yeah.
I thought you said to 8.
Sorry, I'm getting confused.
I don't know.
Yeah. You are going to be reading up to chapter 13. Okay. Okay, guys, I'm gonna just close out class. I need you guys to kind of pay attention, okay? So there's a new question that you guys are going to be answering, okay, this week. And this week's question deals with what happens when worlds or perspectives collide, okay? So I need you guys to take notes on that. What happens when the rules apply to some people but not all, okay? So
we don't take notes like summaries of
you do, but you also have to focus on the question to answer, to bring to the table, okay? So as you guys read this, stop. As you guys read, okay, make sure you're taking notes, but also keep in mind the notes, okay? You also have cohort B, you have asynchronous learning to do with Martin Luther King Jr. Okay, So you have 3 video clips to watch. Take notes. There's questions to answer for each video. Okay, the longest video is 7 minutes and a half, and then there's like a 3 minute and then a 2.5 minutes. So I tried to keep those really short, but I need you guys to watch those videos because part of that is going to help you with the delivery of your slam poem because of the way he delivers his speeches. Okay. Don't forget to upload your 4th attempt. Okay. Alrighty, I'll see you guys. Bye. No.